Welcome to the Real Estate Focus Group. We meet here every other Tuesday at 1 o'clock Eastern Time. I'm Chuck Vosberg, along with my lovely wife, Pat. We are your friends in Florida. And today we're going to be talking about personal branding. And we've got a real expert in personal branding and also a very dear friend of ours, Michael Thompson. Michael has worked for major brands all over the world, brands like Audi, Under Armour, and the list goes on and on. He's really done some really amazing work. And he recently did a branding session for Pat and I, which I'll show you, and it's absolutely amazing. So we're going to learn all about branding. We're going to learn about some good practical tips that we can start using today to start branding ourselves better. But before we get started, just type in the chat when people think about you as a realtor, and truly, if you're not a realtor and you're watching this, this applies to any business. What do you hope people think of you when they do think of you? So type that in the chat, and then we'll come back around to it a little bit later. So, Michael, personal brand, that's a big topic, and I know it's one that you've worked with across the board, mostly with images and video, but everybody's got a brand, whether you know it or not. And Michael, I'm sure you've seen a lot of folks where when they come to you for help, they've got a brand, but that brand may be that they're just a standard agent. Is that something you found pretty true?
Yeah, I have found that. And, kind of going back, I guess, if you just ask the question, well, what is a brand? Well, a lot of people have this conception that a brand is a logo. A logo is just a symbol. Like, let's take Chevy or Nike, for example. That little symbol is just a logo. It's not their brand. Their brand is how it's like your reputation. It's how people feel about you when you're not in the room. So, what is your how do you want people to feel about you? Well, that's kind of where your messaging and your high caliber imagery needs to come across is exactly how you want people to feel about who you are and your reputation. And also ultimately, as a branding photographer and videographer, it's like what can I do to get the right fit customer to like you, to know you, to trust you, and to owe it to themselves to want to work with you. I don't know. That was a long-winded answer, Chuck.
No, that's perfect. Because that's a perfect segue into my next question for you, Michael, is what's the biggest misconception that people have? I know you mentioned that a lot of folks think a logo is an image or branding, but how do you really communicate what a person is like through imagery and through video? And I know
Well,
that's a hard question.
it is a hard question, and it sometimes it really floors me. Like, let's say that I've been looking for houses for many years. I've needed the help of realtors, and maybe there's just an old image that's 15, 20 years old, and then when you meet them face to face, and you go, is that the same person? Now, how do I feel about them at that given moment? So I think that it goes back to I hate to use the word, we've probably been hearing this buzzword a lot is authentic. And like, who are you really? Who's your authentic self? That's what I want to see. And I think that that's what's important right now is being authentic and true to who you really are.
Yeah, I've often wondered if your images aren't consistent with who you are, and and to your point about who you are today, it kind of undermines your credibility.
Can I interject here? I just want to say it goes beyond
Yes.
imaging, like paper imaging or digital. So I met some colleagues this morning for coffee, and the one guy only met me twice once at conference. This is the second time he's ever seen me, but he knew it was me even from the back because of this. He goes,
You
the orange dress. He's like, I only met you the one time at conference. I kind of remembered what you look like, but not really. He goes, but I knew it was you even from the back. I didn't even tell you that
And,
this morning.
and you're instantly recognizable, right? Because Pat has this giant smile. She always has these cool green glasses on, the orange dress. It could be who knows. It's all different types of dress, but it's usually orange. So you're instantly recognizable, and people go, "That's Pat." Years ago when I first started getting into photography, I was an educator in the industry. That's how I really kind of got started, more as an educator and an early adapter of YouTube. I wore a black shirt and yellow corduroys, and that was my uniform. I traveled around the world wearing the same thing. I had like 3 pairs of yellow corduroys and a bunch of black t-shirts, and everywhere I went, that's what I wore, and people just recognized me as that person.
That's such a good point because consistency is the key. Doesn't matter what you pick,
Yeah.
as long as you're
It made it
consistent.
really easy because I was kind of living out of a suitcase most of the time, so I never have to worry about like, does anything match, because everything's the same.
Yeah.
I love that.
I know for us, when we go somebody, if we're not wearing orange, people are asking questions.
Why
Like,
aren't you wearing orange?
Are you not working today?
yeah,
That's true. Yeah. But that just happened today. So it was just interesting, talking about branding and how strong it can be.
well, let's get back around to authenticity
Mm.
because you brought that up, Michael, and let's take a look at it from two sides, and I'd like to hear your opinion on this.
Okay.
Should your branding be consistent with who you are as a person and the way whatever you're like showing up, or should you adjust it based on who you want your target market to be?
No, I think you need to absolutely 100% be who you really are. What is your personality? What are your interests? What are your hobbies? What are you passionate about? Because a genuine passion for something really stands out like a bright neon sign. So if you are pretending to be like someone else, I think it comes across as incredibly inauthentic and fake. Like, we can go off on another tangent about AI, but I really warn a lot of small businesses that I work with that would say, I can just generate that using AI. Well, guess what? AI is sort of grabbing and stealing from all kinds of things. Do you think that AI really knows deeply who you are? I don't think so. They don't really know your authentic self. So I think it's really important to be absolutely 100% who you are. And then that's why people are going to want to work with you, because you're real.
Mm,
I love that.
that's a really good point.
It is a very
Did
good
that sound good?
Yeah, that sounded authentic.
So
Is
it's
it?
interesting because Patricia wrote about, she's the go-to realtor, but they also think of the 49ers and Prince the singer. And that is so true because when I think of Patricia, I think of those 3 things. So
Expand, because I don't know Patricia. Why is she the go-to realtor? Think 49ers and Prince. I mean, I think
they're
Prince.
totally 3 separate things, right? Because
My
go
oh,
ahead, Patricia.
Come on, Patricia, you
I
tell us
was
why.
my answer was that what do I want people to think of me of, and that is the go-to realtor. However, most people when they think about me, they think about 49ers, Prince, and I didn't put breast cancer, but breast cancer now, but 49ers, I'm from San Francisco. I am a diehard 49ers fan, and I
Mm.
have people all the time that'll maybe be behind me in my car and will call or text me and will say, nobody else is in Austin, Texas with a 49er sticker. That's got to be you. Um, and then everybody just knows that I love Prince. And so those are the things that people see, and you can see and tell. You can look on my Facebook and you see that. You see it on Instagram. Anybody that talks to me, I won't have a conversation without talking about one of them, if not both of them. Those are just very important things to me, and most people that know me know that.
I love it.
Yeah,
So imagine if you were a realtor out there not talking about these things that you're passionate about, and it's a totally different. So it makes you unique. Makes me want to potentially work with you. You know, I love Prince music. Now, I may not be a 49ers fan, but you already sold me on Prince.
Well, and bless your heart, you talk to me long enough, you'll be a 49ers fan. But this is what I'm gonna say that is so real about this is people, I have had people in that were in Paris that saw a Prince CD, not CD, what is it, record, and took a picture and sent it to me. Or someone that see a Prince picture and they will send it to me. Like they could be anywhere at Walmart, at in another country, because they know that I'm so related to that subject. And it's equally so. I almost had a wreck the other day trying to take a picture of an orange VW on the side of the road. I couldn't get it because people were honking too much. But I tried to get a picture to send it to them. And so in my neighborhood, I walk every day and I did these people, and it's a brand new truck, or either it's a brand new color, orange, because it had not been. This is the first day I saw it, and I walk twice a day. So these people painted their truck orange, or either they bought a new orange truck, and I took a picture and sent it to them while I was still walking because you know them for orange. Even though, we all worked at Next Home and we all had all I mean, I've got orange, oh, you can't see, but I've got orange envelopes right here in my face, like 500 of them that I bought for mailing. But they are also the car and the Volkswagen, and they're also um put something orange on their page all the time on top of Next Home. So you just know them to be orange on top of. Not to mention, they're the tallest people in the room, I'm sure, of any room they go in. So all of those things is what really makes you stand out and what's really important about people.
And Patricia, you said it exactly 100% is what I said earlier is, you want people to know, like, and trust you. And so that, and be a household name. And so you are a household name when people from across the pond are reaching out to you about the 49ers or for Prince or for Chuck and Pat, texting them a VW bug. I've done the same thing. Every time I see a VW bus or bug or Carmen Gia, I immediately tag them or text it to them.
That's true. And it doesn't matter what it is. It can be anything you're interested in. A lot of times when we're talking to people about branding, people are like, oh, well, you guys have a Carmen Gia and a VW, and you got,
You
but
have cool stuff. I have nothing.
it could be anything. And Patricia's a good example of that. Uh, I know one person, her dog is her branding. Everybody loves her little dog. There's another guy I know, he's got tattoos and he shows up in an old pickup truck. And that's who he is. And that's what people know him by. And he does great. If wearing a suit every day is not consistent with who you are, then so be it. So how much of our personal life should we reveal, Michael?
I think you should definitely reveal those things that make you unique. Like we were talking about having a dog, or maybe, whatever it is that you're passionate about. I think it should be a part of the images, the high color images that really express who you are. So I think that I guess you asked how much of your personal life you should share. I think all those hobbies are incredibly important. Shows that you're really open. Shows that you're passionate about something, and it's going to resonate with those people. And I'd much rather, be associated with somebody that has that personality than a robot that I don't know anything about them.
Yeah.
That makes,
Well, I think that brings up an interesting point because most people in real estate kind of follow the same template. The smiling person with the sold sign. And can you think of any other mistakes that you see with real estate branding that that you wish people would quit doing?
Well, one is an incredibly bad portrait. Like I cannot tell you, like I have seen just horrendous.
Yeah,
Like
I know.
that. So I'm trying to think of anything else. I think we actually had discussion. I think we even had a discussion about, when we were going to get together and do a session for branding. I said, do you want images at all? Like like what you would think of as stock photo of you at a table during a closing or in front of the sign with the homeowner? And you said, God, no.
Yeah, and it's kind of funny that though, even though you work with a lot of realtors, and I've seen the incredible work you do, you still kind of figured they might be wanting some of those lame sold sign photos.
Yeah, it's a sometimes it's really difficult because maybe somebody says they want something very specific, and where do you draw the line of like, no, I'm not going to do that. I want to do this. So sometimes I sort of, have to go down that path of shooting what people want. And
Sure.
sometimes I always say, hey, just let me shoot what I think we need to photograph. It also kind of goes, one of the things that really, before we have a session is I really like to take a deep dive into somebody's why. Why do you do what you do? And you dive into it very on a deeper level, exactly who they are and why is it they do what they do. And that really gives me that finding that why really helps me take an image that shows that, to try to capture that authentic person.
You're right. And I I think a lot of the people who are on here know that I was a commercial photographer before I was a realtor. So this is the first time when I worked with Michael was I didn't try to dictate what we were doing and
Mm.
said, look, you're an expert. I trust your judgment. And I'd like to show you all what came out of that by me just letting go and letting a professional kind of guide the process, just like we do with clients. We guide a process. And what came out of it were photos that I'll give you an example. I posted one of the photos, and the same day, somebody texted me and said, hey, I saw that great photo of you, and I want to refer you to my brother. And
Wow.
solely because of the photo. And out of
You
all the photos that we posted before.
do you know that those photos really had such an impact that I got phone calls from, I want to say, at least three people that I hadn't talked to in like over a year. Here's what I mean, on the other side of the country. Here's what let you know I saw those photos. Those were great. I mean, maybe you get a couple of likes or a little comment here and there, but they really you should show them because they really resonated with
Yeah,
who I think who
I'll
you
show them. So we ended up with 10 images, and let me
And it
share.
didn't take long either.
No, so this whole thing,
Yeah,
how long do you think we were out there? 30 minutes at the most?
No,
would
maybe.
have done a lot sooner, but I needed drone footage, and you
Oh,
were
yeah.
flying your drone around.
Yeah, and
That's
I
right.
was
I would
just
have been done in about less than about 15 minutes. I think it's a good session. If I know exactly what I'm going to do, and I prepared for it, so I already had kind of a list of exactly what shots that I wanted. By the way, I can't say shots anymore. What images
Yeah.
I
Oh yeah, you
wanted.
can't use that word.
Yeah, I still slip sometimes. And so it makes it go really fast. So that's why it's really important if you are going to do any kind of branding with a photographer is to really have that ideally in person or at least a Zoom meeting and dig deep into your why and why you what you do what why why you're a realtor
One thing I
and
noticed that was
come
different.
shot list.
Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off,
That's
but
it. So just kind of
okay.
having a list of images that so go ahead and show them because we did have I had a very specific idea in mind.
And that's one thing that was interesting is that you showed up with a plan. We weren't just leaving it to chance that, oh, and maybe we'll get some cool stuff, which is
Right.
kind of the way we've always done it in the past, even though I know better as a former professional. So let me share this screen with you. Great. So this was the setup, and it's just how simple it was. You didn't bring out a ton of equipment. It was just, very simple setup. And then here are the 10 images. We started off with a few of just Pat.
But instantly recognizable with your orange car, your orange outfits, we it's obvious that we are in a coastal city. You're Florida based.
Yep. And we got out there nice and early, so the sky was a little bit orangey. And then, these are things that, two things stand out to me, Michael, is one, there's no way you could get this with a phone, but
Right.
but it's not the camera. You could have handed me the camera and I couldn't have got this shot because there's the artistic and just the knowledge behind doing an image that shows what people are all about.
And we listened to you as well. We didn't like come up with our own,
Right.
oh,
I
I
kind
don't
of
want to do
already
that,
knew. I
Yeah.
knew that Pat, like if you look at that previous image, I knew that I wanted Pat inside the car, and I wasn't sure whether Chuck needed to be on the opposite side or next to her, so we did both.
Yeah. And then you pick the right one.
And then yeah, and then I wanted you both in the car, and we had to do that very fast because it's very hot and humid. So you guys were in there maybe a minute.
Yeah. It's Florida.
And I wanted that kind of flowy because there was some wind, and I wanted to kind of get like an iconic, Marilyn Monroe dress flowing. It's just fun because
It is.
working at is fun.
And after
And look at her. And if you look at her, I go, if I didn't know Pat, I would go, she seems like really fun, very nice, and I would trust her. And I think I would like to have a phone call to get to know her and see what she has to say about helping me find the right property.
it's true. They really, and I can't put my finger on it, but they really communicate what she's like. And the ones of both of us, what we're like. And then, of course, okay, so we got 10 images. We'll talk a little bit more about how we stretch these and get a lot of mileage out of them. But
Oh
then
my God.
I'll
Yeah, you
put
got
it,
a lot
I'll
of
put it
mileage.
through that AI thing that I use for listings and just to test it out. And let me show you what we got out of that.
That was incredible. Obviously, a little lag time, but you can still get the idea. If AI, look at her, look at that. It looks like I'm watching a reality TV of realtors.
So there's another piece of content that we were able to get out of this. And so what we've been doing is, okay, we got 10 images. Those are, for our little plan, 10 weeks worth of content. And so let's talk about some practical branding ideas. Michael, we've got these 10 images. Obviously, we can't afford to, do this every month or every week, but we kind of, like, I call these anchor images
Hmm.
to go in between. So talk to us a little bit about some ways that we can stretch this and really take advantage. I noticed, like, one thing that you do that you're, since you have an advertising background, you do this without thinking, is every one of these images has a place where you would put a headline and put some text. And
Yeah. If
so
you go
that's
back,
another repurposing.
right, one of the things that I did, knowing, well, wasn't 100% sure what you would do with the images, but I know you could use them for social media content or maybe some sort of maybe an article for the paper or whatever. But having negative space in there so to put text very very clearly. So in this case, it was lots of clouds. A couple of images were kind of a blurry. I made the car blurry, so you could definitely put text on there. I'll give you an example maybe of the social media posts. Taking those images, we're basically halfway through the year. What have we learned with the real estate market? Give me the top 4 or top 5 takeaways of it's halfway through the year. Here's what we've learned about the market. And you could start with that anchor image of the two of you, and then it can just be cell phone images after that. Like, I don't know, something to do with, you tell me the top 5 things that you want to know. I'm just giving you an
Yeah,
example.
whatever's hot in your area, because everybody's different.
Right. there's a 50 Cent song that goes like Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. It goes through 7 days of the week. You could do that. You could use that 50 Cent song, like on Instagram. You start with the anchor image of what's it like being a realtor? Well, you guys work 7 days a week. It could be, and each image is a different thing. Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. I'm just giving you like really fun examples, and those images each are something that is authentic to what's your personality, what's it like working with you. Just giving you some generic ideas on you can take those 10 images and turning it into easily 10 pieces of content very, very easily using Canva, or maybe have your niece or your nephew or somebody that's really good with social media help you with those kind of things.
That's absolutely
Did
right.
that help? Did that make any sense? Did that resonate with you?
Yes, because I like your concept of using that as an anchor image and then use filler images that we create ourselves, just, as we go about our day-to-day business with our phones, because that really works.
Right. And obviously we don't need to talk about this to great length, but social media is incredibly important part of realtors in particular, getting out to the world who you are. And it starts with some great imagery of authentically says who you are. And Instagram really is kind of treated as your new website. So anybody who's not using Instagram on a week by week basis is really doing a disservice to who they are as a brand.
Good point. So why don't we kind of
content? That's my point. You need lots of content. Sometimes it's really helpful to have a photographer come out. I know that we only came out and did those particular, really, really very specific images, but really probably the next move would be is, have me come and spend a few hours with you and take a lot of images, front load a lot of imagery that you can sprinkle and use throughout the rest of the year, for example.
Yes, I'm glad you brought that up, because we decided, now that we've seen the power of doing this, that okay, we need to budget some money so that we
Yeah.
can kind of continue this on and just pick. I don't know what we're going to end up deciding on, but whatever that amount is going to be better than the nothing that we've been doing.
Right.
And just
100%.
trying to produce all our own content, and then it's not really much better than anybody else's.
No, and you definitely need the content. That's the biggest problem I think most businesses have, is they don't have enough content. So a really good photographer that can spend a few hours with you and take a lot of images, and you pay them by the hour, or whatever you come up with. Hey, we need X amount of images. And there needs to be a little bit of thought that goes into that. Like, what stories do we want to tell? Really, sit down with the photographer maybe and come up with a game plan on the types of images that you could use.
Yeah,
That's
like
right.
a storyboard. A storyboard would be good.
Very much telling not only your story, which is a good place to start. Well, what is your story?
Right.
If I were to ask you, Pat, why are you a realtor? Why do you love it so much? I mean, so this is a real question. Why do you love it?
Well, the standard is, oh, I love helping people.
But it's fun.
No.
But why? Okay, so wait. So here,
No, I mean, that's like what everyone says.
so let me guide you through
Helping
the
people.
why, because this is a good exercise.
Yeah.
Why do you love helping people?
Okay, so I actually do know why. I was a social worker for 25 years. And the reason I got into that, it kind of just fell in my lap, but it goes way, way back to my dad.
Okay.
Yeah, because my dad, watching my dad growing up, I saw how he interacted with his sisters and everybody, and how he was always the person who went above and beyond. And
How,
he is my hero, my dad.
how did that make you feel?
You mean right now telling the story?
No, how did it make you feel about
You
your
mean,
dad, seeing your dad? So
oh,
what was that about your dad that was like that?
Because it came from his heart. He did not ever expect anything in return. He did it because he loved his family and his friends. And I just saw the good in him. I really just saw the good in him.
So one of the things that I can say,
Yeah,
because I personally know you, is how much you do care about people, and how both you and Chuck will oftentimes do things for people with not asking or expecting anything in return, which is a rare quality. I think Chuck probably has his own personal why. I think he authentically is like that as well. But that deep why is my point of it is that we could somehow take that and really tell your story, even though you initially said, oh, everybody says that. Well, everybody might say it, but they didn't get down to the root of it. It
right.
all came from your dad and
Yes,
how
that is true.
you were raised and how that influenced who you are
Yes.
today. That's a great story.
Yeah. I mean, my mom was great too, but
You can have multiple
he's
whys.
heard me talk about my dad so much.
Yeah.
And it's okay to have more than one why as well. But
Yes. Yes.
so that's a
All right.
good place to start, is my
Yeah, I
point.
love it.
It is. Okay, so let's say I'm an agent, I'm kind of new. I don't really have a lot of money. Where should I start?
Well, I think that if you don't have a lot of money, at least getting, kind of like what we did with you and your Carmen Gia and both of you wearing orange. These are all things that people locally identify you, and then they recognize you right away in your household name because of, first of all, your image. Obviously, you're very nice and thoughtful. You're always. I mean, I've gotten note cards or a note in the mail from you that said, "Hey, I want to thank you just for being who you are, and I appreciate you." So, where to start is at least a couple of great images, at least a really nice headshot or something that tells a little bit of a bigger story of who you are. Maybe it could be something personable, like we talked about. Was it Patricia with 49ers and Prince in San Francisco? There's enough right there for me to come up with some great images of that to start with. That can be very affordable.
So, Michael,
Yeah, I've done some with the 49ers. I've got with my jersey on and maybe a key. I have a holding a football and a soul sign. I've done some images with my Niners. I haven't with Prince, but I am going. My birthday's August 6th, and I'm going to Prince's house in Minnesota for my birthday. That's my gift this year. So I'm planning to get some photos there.
What a great opportunity is it? I bet you could, if you really wanted to, you could probably hire a local photographer in Minnesota to maybe grab a couple of amazing images to help tell that story. And it really is a fun story. Just going there for your
Yeah.
birthday is one really nice story to share.
I
And
love
bet
that,
you,
Michael. Yeah, I love
Yeah,
that.
and I did that and I went to Columbia for my birthday last year, my 50th, and we did the flying dress photos. So
Oh, I
I've
love
done that
the flying
before.
dress. I love the flying dress, Patricia. I don't know if I ever saw that picture of you.
so
I would
Michael,
absolutely have to look for it.
I know what people are going to say. They're like, well, but Michael, I don't have an orange VW. Well, what do you say to that person?
well, again, I think that's why it's really important to whatever photographer you do decide to work with, set up a meeting and have a talk with them, whether it be Zoom or in person over a coffee, and really talk about these things that we talk about. Your why, what is it that makes you unique, identifiable? How do you want people to perceive you? Who's authentic? Who are you really? When you're not around, what do people say about you? And I think the images should reflect that. Did that answer your question?
That's a good point of view.
I'm on a
Yes.
tangent sometimes, and I forget about the original conversation.
So how often should we update our headshots, Michael?
Well, so I think at least between 1 and 24 months. If you do a significant change, like if Pat decided that she wasn't going to have green glasses anymore or change her hair, then she might want an updated image. So I think at least somewhere between 12 and 24 months have an updated image.
Our images are 7 years old.
But you can get away with it.
I know,
like,
it's pathetic.
the same,
Headshot
you didn't,
images.
you know,
Yeah.
if your weight fluctuated or or something significant,
Right.
looked a lot different, I think I'd probably at least. And the other thing is that we are who we are. So I think a lot of people will, and I've even been known to do this myself, or is, oh, I don't like the way I look right now. I don't think that I think you should just dive in. You are who you are, and I think that's part of being authentic. You are who you are, and just do it with confidence, and don't worry about it. Why?
So it's interesting. It's interesting you say that. I posted an image of me. It was actually both of us laying in bed. You didn't really see him, but I had on a bra. And it's nothing sexual in the picture. I could show it to you. It's on my phone.
Just a picture.
It's on my Facebook page. Anybody could look at it. It's just a photo, and you don't see any breasts, you don't see anything, but it is a little kind of sexy, I guess. But I was celebrating me turning 68.
Oh,
So I was like, this is what 68 looks like,
okay.
And it was just because I feel great. Patricia, you don't know, but I lost 30 pounds, believe it or not. I know you're probably looking at me weird, but I did. I could not fit into this dress before. So I'm extremely ecstatic about losing the 30 pounds in a little over 4 months. But yeah, it's interesting. Then I had people say, I had a lady, Celeste, say, you know, you are so brave or to do a photo like that, or, you have such confidence to do that. And, it comes from a place where I think, you do have to have the inner confidence, of course, but I don't know. I think all women and men are beautiful, no matter what they look like and what size they are and everything. And I think, we just have to embrace that beauty, whatever it is. And
Yeah.
Mhm. Well, Michael, what would you say to the person who is kind of introverted and kind of shy, and maybe doesn't like having their photo taken, or doesn't want to see themselves on video?
Well, one thing about introverts is that unlike extroverts like me, that to just run my mouth ragged and sometimes not have a whole lot to say, is I think that introverts typically are a little bit more deeper thinkers, and when they do speak, there's some substance coming out. So I think, don't be afraid as an introvert to openly talk and say the few words that are meaningful, or don't worry about being in front of the camera. And that's part of the photographer's job, is to make you feel good and capture really the essence of who you really are. And you just have to trust the process.
So it's interesting you should say that, because I think a lot of older women, and you were talking about, like, you see a real estate photo, and you think that's what the person's going to be looking like when you meet them, but their shot is from
From 2000.
10, 15, yeah, 20 years ago, whatever. And I don't know. I just, it's very unfortunate that we live in that kind of society where youth is so looked upon as being what we all should strive for. But
that's really changing.
It is, thank goodness. Yeah.
Very changing. I remember the first time, oh my gosh, I'm really going to show my wrinkles and, my beer belly. What I'm just saying,
so wrinkles everywhere.
That's the other part of the photographer, is like, okay, we can work. We just need a little bit of hope. You can really work with, with nice lighting and a great smile, or whatever. It doesn't need whatever, that we can work with something. We'll find something to really capture.
I love that.
Yeah.
I really love that.
Mm.
Yeah, but we've
Not every photographer, but
yeah.
not every photographer can pull that off. But
Chuck and I have done, we've done in this focus group about videos and people will post in the chat or even privately that but I'll look old. My hands will look old in the video. I'll look old. And I'm like, okay, but when the person sees you in front of you in real life, um, you're going to be whatever age you're going to be, which is why I'm not embarrassed about my
I,
age. People look at me and go, oh my God, I can never tell my age. But listen, it is what it is.
it is what it is, and if
I
you think
can't
you can get
be,
away,
no.
They're going to see us
They're gonna
sooner or later.
sooner or later. And if they don't want to work with me because I'm 68 and they feel like, oh, she's an old boomer, oh my God, whatever. you
I
know,
re- I
they're in
recently
shock.
worked. I, I recently worked with an insurance agent about doing an updated headshot, and they used AI to create their portrait.
Oh no.
It didn't look anything like them. It made them look 20 years younger. It was a lie. And I'm thinking to myself,
Oh my
the
God.
people that meet you face to face, or what are they thinking? They're thinking anything that this agent says might not be true.
You can't help but wonder
Oh,
if they're showing you something that's not true, then
oh,
what else isn't true?
oh
What
my
else is
God, that is
true?
such a great point.
So this is where
Yeah.
you really need to be careful. I think obviously we use AI on a day by day basis to help us with our lives and make maybe tasks easier and things like that. But when it comes to imagery, I would be very careful about having AI do too much so you don't come across as fake or a lie.
Yeah, I love that.
Yeah, I mean that's a harsh way of putting it, but that is the honest truth is it is a lie. It's it's not the truth.
Yeah.
Hmm. Well, we'll get some hate mail about that comment, I think, but I'm not editing that. Of
I use AI to help with certain things, but I just think
course you
you
do.
need to be, you need to be aware of that and be a little just in your back of your mind. Does it look a little off? Is it really authentically who I am? Ask that question.
Yeah. And you know, this is one thing that was interesting after you and I sitting down and talking about us doing this project together. This is the first time I've ever gone to a photo. Oh, we're not supposed to use the word shoot. Photo session where I didn't obsess about getting my hair cut and making sure everything was right and make sure my shirt was perfect. I just showed up and the images were,
You did clean the car though.
well, the car was pretty dirty.
That's the only thing. And we took a shower.
Yeah,
I
but
love
we didn't do
power.
anything we wouldn't have
Yeah,
done
right.
ordinarily.
Exactly.
All right, so I'm an agent, got my business, things are going pretty good. But I got 90 days. I want to upgrade my image. I want to start attracting better clients. I want to start having people notice me and kind of know what I'm all about. So in 3 months' time, what should I do, Michael?
I definitely think obviously it starts with that, like I said, that headshot or maybe a series, maybe two or three different headshots. Maybe you have a team. Maybe there needs to be a team photo. I think that's a good place to start. A total visual overhaul. What type of images do realtors really need for their social media, the website? What images that really portray who they are? I wouldn't do what has been done in the past with some kind of stiff background or that typical shot that you see out by the sign or so think about those things that we talked about. What are you passionate about? And maybe
Right.
we can incorporate some of that because that's how people are going to remember you. And then replacing all those outdated images with updated images. What is so that we are on brand. Again, it's not a logo, it's not a symbol, it's who you are. It's like, how do you want people to feel about you when you're not in the room? You ultimately, again, you want people to to know, like, and trust you and owe it to themselves to want to work with you when they see your imagery. And how do we do that? It's through a series of impactful images, whether it be still images or video or a mixture of both. So I think it starts with something really as basic as that. Out with the old and in with the new of your authentic identity. And you ultimately, like Patricia, she is a household name. People know who she is from across the pond, and then obviously locally, you want to ultimately get to the point where you're like Patricia or Chuck and Pat. Of when I see an image of come across social media, I instantly know who you are. It makes me feel, oh, I really like them. They're great. They're fun to work with. They're always informative. They're always on time. Whatever it is that you want people to say about you when you're not in the room, and have those images speak that.
Wow. Well put.
Is that good? That sounded impressive.
Yeah, it sounds like you know what you're talking about. So, Patricia, you got any questions for Michael or any comments or anything?
No, I mean, this is good. I agree. The photo, I mean, I just think that doing the photos are important, doing them regularly is important. And I do believe that having real photos, a real photo blank, since I'm not sure, I didn't catch the why we're not saying shoot, but having an actual photo time is important. I mean, in my opinion, the all of the AI photos are fun and funny, but they're not for my business card or to be on, the header of my LinkedIn or anything like that. My photos there are an actual photo from a photo blank. I feel like it's not saying commission. Like, we're gonna figure this out in a minute why we're not saying shoot though. And then, every once in a while you have like the cartoon character person, that's just something added fun, but that should not be your, main photo at any time. And I definitely believe that you should have a new headshot or photo blank once a year, whether you're doing it for your birthday or you're doing them for your work anniversary or whatever. And it may not be the full elaborate one where you're paying thousands of dollars, but at least catching, a couple shots or a headshot at bare minimum, because it is very funny. And I'm sure we have all talked about somebody's business card that has a photo of them from 20 years ago. And then you're looking for them to come and open the door, and it's somebody else, but it's really them. So I agree with everything I've heard. I think that you are definitely in the right business. I believe that it should still be very relevant, top of mind, to have a new headshot or new photos taken at all times. And then you just use the extra for extra.
And I'll throw one thing on top of what Patricia said is, one thing I know about realtors, like in our area, is lots of different pockets that are really different. Like we have the beaches and downtown life, and so I think that if you are a realtor that focuses in a particular market, it'd be really nice to kind of see behind the scenes of where you are an authority locally. Do you what are some of your favorite businesses, for example? Maybe you're hanging out at the coffee shop if you're a coffee drinker in your little local coffee shop, or, so images of kind of that identify who you are in the market that you work. I don't know if that helps too. Kind of, I want to see more. I'd like to see a lot more images of you being part of the community that you work in.
Love that.
In addition to just a really nice headshot or portrait.
One thing I notice is that with all your advice, Michael, is that you're not saying that it has to be real estate oriented. I mean, it almost sounds like it's better if it isn't.
Well, I think it's nice to be, I just want to be able to, like, if I see you, see your name or your face out there, I want to be able to, first of all, well, what are they passionate about? what makes them unique? And I also want to know that you are an authority, an expert on the market that I'm interested in buying. Do you know all the little local shops? Are you well connected with the handyman and everybody? Because as realtors, you're often a resource for all kinds of people that people need to know. You're connectors in addition to helping with a transaction and helping me find, one of the biggest investments you ever make is finding your dream home. So I'd like to see some of that imagery in your marketing and in your social media and on your website and that kind of thing.
Very good. Well, Michael, I can't thank you enough for joining us today. We're grateful for your friendship. I'm glad we happen to live here in Florida together, where we can get to be friends and see each other. And
Yeah.
this has been the Real Estate Focus Group. We meet every other Tuesday, 1 o'clock Eastern time, and we always try and have a guest on who's an expert in something that we can all learn from. And today we had Michael and also Patricia Williams, who was definitely someone when she talks, we take out our pencil.
That's right.
So thank you for joining. I hope you got a lot out of it, and have a wonderful day.